Good evening, board members and residents. I'd like to call to order our regular board meeting for Monday, March 27th, 2017. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Backens?
Here.
Mr. Batanti?
Here.
Mr. Servil?
Here.
Mr. Tominello?
Here.
Mr. York?
Here.
Mr. Witt? Here. Mr. Verkest?
Here, thank you. Next is our approval of our consent agenda, including the approval of the regular board meeting minutes of March 13, 2017, and approval of the bills in the amount of $1,522,161.40.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thanks, their support.
Support.
Got a motion by Mr. York with support by Mr. Tominello. Discussion, board members. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is the approval of the regular agenda. Board members, there was a discussion about the addition of a closed session to discuss the attorney's opinion. Be looking for a motion to approve the regular agenda if that is a desired closed session with that included.
Motion to approve the regular agenda, adding the closed session to discuss the written attorney's opinion.
Okay, let's be specific if you don't mind, please.
Yes, sir.
Regarding
Yep.
Beechwood Pump Station and SAD.
Okay.
Concerning Beechwood Pump Station and SVD.
All right, we'll add that as item C1.
Support.
All right. Motion by Mr. Witt, with support by Mr. Batanti. Discussion, board members? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is announcements. We have a few announcements. We have a few openings here at the township, so we are currently accepting applications for employment for a part-time parks and ground maintenance worker, a full-time water and sewer maintenance worker, a part-time mechanical inspector, and part-time summer grounds maintenance help. If you have interest in any of these positions, there's information on the website. We ask that you submit an application and/or a resume to our deputy supervisor, Mr. Demchik. His email address is adymczyk@harrison-township, harrison-township.org, or you can look under the resources tab on our township's website for employment, and there's more information on these positions. The Harrison Township Beautification Commission is hosting and leading a Metro Parkway litter cleanup drive on Saturday, April 22nd from 9 a.m. till noon. The event will start at Mariners Point Shopping Center. All volunteers are welcome. That's also information for that is on the website. Macomb County is excited to announce the Spring 2017 tree, shrub, and plant sale. The spring sale provides an opportunity for the public to purchase young trees, flowering shrubs, wildflower seed, fruit plants, and trees at the most reasonable prices available. Learn more at green.macombgov.org. The Harrison Township Board of Trustees is currently soliciting bids for the landscaping work for the township. There's information on the township's website under the businesses and purchasing tab. So we're soliciting bids for the landscaping. We're also looking for volunteers for our Parks and Recreation Committee. If you're interested in volunteering for Parks and Rec, please contact the supervisor's office. The library has several events scheduled all the time, and plenty of good ones. Visit their website, www.htlibrary.org. You can also follow them on Twitter at HarrisonTWPLIB. And then for information on all those events and some others, you can always call the supervisor's office, 586-466-1445, or visit the website harrison-township.org, or follow us on Twitter at harrison_twpmi. Any other announcements? All right, hearing none, we'll move on in our agenda to item B1. Mr. Witt?
Yes, before us tonight, we have a petition for the creation of a special assessment district for paving Brigantine Estates. They have, they're in the situation that some of the other neighborhoods are, where they had their initial coat put down by the developer, but due to the downturn, things slowed down and they never got their final top coat in the neighborhood. And they're petitioning the board to form an SAD to fund that 2-inch wearing course installation for the entire subdivision. They have, did sit down and go through an informal meeting with the subdivision. They went out and collected signatures on the petition. They had 51.96% of the benefiting property. That was as of the time we prepared this agenda item. Since that time, I think they dropped off a couple more names that we then checked, and they came across as good. I think it was another 3 lots. And just as a point of reference, there are some lots that are still owned by developers. And I don't think we had any of those developers that signed the petition. So if you look at it as a percentage of actual homeowners, even though that developer counts towards the total, the percentage of homeowners is much higher than the total might represent. So we have there's an estimate on the project there. They're looking at total cost of $381,301, or a cost per lot over the 102 lots for $3,738.25, or spread out over 10 years, it works out to about $484 per lot. So again, tonight we have the resolution number 1 before us, which establishes the special assessment district. And after that, we have resolution number 2, which would set the public hearing number 1, the public hearing of necessity. That gives the residents an opportunity to come to the board and speak for and against the project and lodge their complaints, so they maintain their appeal process to the state tax tribunal should they be interested. So,
I'll make a motion to adopt the foregoing resolution number 1 for Brigantine Estates asphalt road paving SAD project as presented. Support.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Tominello with support by Mr. York to adopt resolution 1. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. Last time I drove through there, there were some lots at the southeast quadrant of that sub that were for sale. Is that another phase of that subdivision, or are those lots included in this? Because I don't even think there's any road there or anything.
so there's a phase 2 to Brigantine that's essentially vacant land right now, but
That's the part I'm talking
yeah,
about.
they're not receiving any,
Okay, that's another phase that has nothing to do with this then.
correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll open up the floor for public comment.
William Barlow, 20-year resident. Just want to ask you, when these people bought their house, wasn't there agreement that they would have a road, a finished road? And are you guys going after the builder? And educate me a little bit on this one. I don't understand why on God's green earth these people don't have a top coat on a brand-new house. And I know that sub isn't much more than 10 years or less old, so I'm just wondering what's going on here. Educate me if you would. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment, move back to board comment. To the best that I can, and I'll encourage a couple other folks to jump in terms of going after the builder, I believe that what happened was that entire project went through bankruptcy. So I don't know that there's anybody to be held liable, but if there was, I don't know if it's the township's position to take that civil action. If the homeowners felt that there was someone civilly liable, I think they might have that power, but they've decided instead to go move forward with a special assessment, and which I think personally is the right thing to do. That's what we've advised. I don't believe there's someone who is liable. I don't know, Mr. Huth, if you can comment on that.
Just to say it's widespread. I've seen it in a few other communities as well. Same issue. It is the homeowners association's has standing to make the claim, but what they've decided, and there's a few lawyers specializing in this, if there's nobody to collect, they just skip the expense of, and go move on and just pay for it themselves.
Right, okay,
So
good.
there was another issue, we were talking about it prior to the board meeting. Mr. Tavanello had mentioned that, that particular road, those roads in there are private roads. It was set up as private roads, so, you know, it's not like it's owned by the county at this point. It is a private road, so.
Yeah, that's also another
Yeah, it
factor,
is,
right?
yeah.
So it limits the township's ability to get involved, but the homeowners association, if they believed that somebody was holding assets for that, they could pursue that, but bankruptcy usually makes a pretty good cut that way, so. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion by Mr. Tominello with support by Mr. York to adopt the foregoing resolution number 1 for Brigantine Estates Asphalt Road Paving SAD project as presented. Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. York?
Yes.
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Batanti?
Yes.
Mr. Servil?
Yes.
Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Verkowski?
Yes, thank you. Then next, B2, Mr. Witt?
Again, this is the resolution number 2, setting the public hearing, number 1. And at this point, we are looking to have the public hearing on,
Monday, May.
yeah, Monday, May 8th.
And we've gone through a few of these before, so all we're doing with resolution 2 is setting that, that meeting date.
Yep, and then it's just directing my office to notice that in the paper twice and then send out to the registered property owners a notice of first-class mail.
Any discussion, or is there a motion?
Make a motion to adopt foregoing resolution number 2 for the Brigantine Estates Asphalt Road Paving SAD project as presented. Do we need to indicate the date?
No, it's in the
No,
resolution.
it's in the
presented.
resolution, yeah. Is there support? Support. All right. We have a motion by Mr. Batanti with support by Mr. Batkins. Is there discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Batanti?
Yes.
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Servil?
Yes.
Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. York?
Yes.
Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Verkowski?
Yes. All right, thank you, board. We'll move forward as fast as we can to get the road paved and improve another nice neighborhood in the township. Next on the agenda is public comment. We'll accept comments of any nature and, or any particular topic, and we ask that you limit them to 5 minutes.
William Bardell, 20-year resident. I just want to comment about my road, and one thing that I've noticed, I'm on Point Rosa. I noticed that the Prentice, which is a county road, same as Point Rosa is, the road Prentice, which is in front of the church, St. Hubert's Church, always gets the cracks filled and potholes filled. For some reason, my county road, Point Rosa, never gets the cracks filled, has never got crack filler, hardly ever gets patched, and when they patch it, they never pack it down. But they do a nice job on Prentice. So I don't expect you guys to answer that or put the spin on it. Just, I observed it, okay? So maybe people on Point Rosa, maybe my street, maybe we're not important, you know. Maybe you don't need to fill our cracks because you figure, well, we're going to have an assessment anyway. Well, we don't want an assessment where they raise our street 4 inches so the water goes back into our garages. No, we don't want that. So I reached out to you, Adam, 2 years ago, and I haven't got any reply. So I guess we're not important, so that's okay. I know my position. So anyway, I'm just a resident, so I guess I don't matter. So I'll pay my taxes and I'll keep my trap shut. But the other thing I want to talk about is, before Ken, you blasted me and shut me down when we were talking about how we could save our Selfridge Air Force Base and talk about getting this F-35 out here. And I wanted to speak for 1 minute, and that was after public comment. Again, I'm nobody, you know, just a 20-year resident paying my taxes. behaving myself. So, you know, again, I'm nobody. I just want to talk for 1 minute on how we can get together and we as a group and as a township, how we can try to get this F-35 out here at Selfridge and keep our Air Force base open. But you cut me off, so here I'm going to try to give you the information now. If you're interested in keeping our Selfridge Air Force base open, which I am, and which I hope everybody is, and you guys probably are, you want to go to mif35.org on the internet. That's mif35.org. Go to Show Your Support. That's on the upper right-hand side. And sign the petition that you indeed do support the F-35 project and the Air Force's mission. And tell all your friends about it. Again, that's MIF. In other words, that's MichiganF35.org. Go to Show Your Support on the top right-hand side. Click that on and sign the petition that indeed you do support the F-35 mission at Selfridge. The only other thing I want to talk about is if you haven't had a chance, please go to Save Lake St. Clair on Facebook and check it out. Get involved in our wonderful lake. I'm sure at some point, you know, we're going to be coming to a crossroads on all these things, and hopefully, I'd like to see some people getting involved in this. So that's Save Lake St. Clair, Facebook, and thank you very much, board members and residents. Have a wonderful and safe evening.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment and move back to board comment. I have to apologize to the resident. I wasn't aware that I blasted you or shut you down, but I certainly stand in support of Selfridge Air Base and the F-35 mission. So I apologize if I offended you in some way. Is there any other board comment?
Mr. Supervisor, just a point of clarification, when we get these special assessments excluding private roads, the public roads are properties of the township, just so the board, or not, they're not property of the township, they're property of the Department of Roads. So anytime we need to get an estimate on anything, we're at their mercy as to when they can send an engineer out there. We have some that we've gotten back, we have some that we haven't, so, you know, we try and work with them to get that pricing out to residents, but, they move at the pace they decide to move at. So most of the time it's great, you know, right around, but sometimes they get caught up. I know on one, I have been waiting since late last year, but it's up to them at that point.
Sure. And I do know that the maintenance and the expenditure on collector roads or thoroughfares is different than on local roads. I don't know that it's too common that they do crack sealing on local roads, but certainly, for example, Lance Cruz would be an example of a road that not only did they do crack sealing, but they actually repaved it without participation. So some of those roads, they do take a different level of maintenance on, if there's no other board comment, I'd be looking for a motion to move into closed session regarding the attorney's opinion regarding Beechwood Pump Station and SAD.
So moved.
Support?
All right, we got a motion by Mr. Witt, support by Mr. Tominello.
Roll call, please.
I think it's
You
required.
always have to.
I think it's required. Yep.
Okay.
Discussion? Yeah, I just wanna say, I don't know if I think that this is appropriate for closed session or not. I'm still sort of in the middle on this. I'm leaning toward this shouldn't be a closed session, but I'm willing to go in, see how the discussion goes, but I think if the discussion goes a certain way in there, we start making decisions, I think that we need to come out of closed session and do that part in open session.
Sure. Well,
Right, and I don't know what's gonna, I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there before we go in.
okay. Well, we've received an attorney's opinion saying that we are allowed to go into closed session, and I think any board member here, maybe save a couple of new ones, should know very well that we can't make decisions in closed session. So regardless of what the subject matter is, I would hope that if any board member engaged in decision-making, that they would cry foul, because that's against the law. Any other comments? Hearing none, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Tominello?
Yes?
Mr. Batkins?
Yes.
Mr. Batanti?
Yes.
Mr. Servil?
No,
Mr. York?
No.
Mr. Verkast?
Yes. All right, and it's 7:22.
Signs behind.
Oh, the sign.
Cannot make a decision. No, you have to make a decision in open session. You can discuss what you wish to do.
Some people will call